Hello and good morning, everybody. So, as we told in the description section, Supersede will be like a initiative. It's started by trained and experienced trainers. So, we will be offering TCS NQT training in the coming days, like because you have the TCS placements on October 24th, 25th, and 26th. So, until then, we have planned to have the session going on in the upcoming days. So if you have any queries related to the TCS National Qualifier Test, you can contact us and let's make it a success together. So as it says in the logo itself, learning is living. We are motivated to give the training for free. It's because TCS has announced this as a national qualifier test, and because of that, like all the tier 1, it's not only about the tier 1 colleges, tier 2 and tier 3 colleges also. I mean, students of those colleges can also participate in this national qualifier test. So everybody has an opportunity, and like we believe that everybody should get an opportunity for this training also. So it's not only about the tier 1 colleges, the tier 2 and tier 3 college students should also get an opportunity to get themselves trained in order to attend that national qualifier test. So that's the main motto of this session. So with no further delay, let's start with the session because we have only 1 hour within which we'll have to just look in depth about what is this national qualifier test and what about the pattern, and we will be discussing some questions. So this is the agenda for today's session. Let's start. So as you can see here, TCS NQT pattern for this year is having 5 different sections. I mean, like everybody would have gone through this tabular column, like for the last after TCS has announced its national qualifier test. So it's better that before we start the session, let's look into what are these sections are and what number of questions and what different topics that you can expect from these sections. So as you can see, it has verbal ability, in which you can expect 24 questions, and the duration of the verbal ability section will be 30 minutes, that's half an hour. And the reasoning ability will be like you will be asked 30 questions and the duration for it would be 50 minutes, which means like you have 1.5 minutes per question. And about the numerical ability or the quantitative aptitude, you have 26 questions, and the duration of the numerical ability section or the quantitative aptitude section would be 40 minutes. And programming logic, you will get 10 questions and the duration would be 15 minutes. And in coding, you have 2 questions and the duration for these would be 45 minutes. Now, as I told you, you are familiarized with this tabular column. So let's get into detail about what are the different topics that you can expect in all these sections. Now, talking about verbal ability, in verbal ability, you can expect questions from reading comprehension, sentence correction. Sentence correction is basically nothing but error spotting. You'll be given a sentence, and the sentence will be partitioned as different sections like A, B, C, D, and you'll have to spot the error in a particular or specific part of the sentence. And if there is no error, then you'll have to go for the option no error. And for sentence correction, you have a lot of grammatical structures like subject verb agreement, pronoun agreement, parallelism, prepositions, articles, tenses, and modifiers. So all these things have to be learned. Only then the sentence correction topic would be easier for you. And sentence completion is that they'll be giving you a sentence and you'll have to complete the sentence from the given choices. And parajumbles, which is a very easy topic, but that might be a challenging topic when it comes to the verbal aptitude, because they might give you a list of sentences which put together will form a paragraph. So in that case, they will always go for confusing sentences, which might be the starting, which might feel like the starting also, which might feel like the body of the paragraph also. So you'll have to be very careful about the para jumbles. And about the closed passage. So closed test is kind of a intermediate topic. So you will have to concentrate on closed test. And vocabulary cannot be trained because it's about the number of words that you know in that language. That's vocabulary, right? So my suggestion would be, if you don't get comfortable with vocabulary, then don't start it. Kindly just concentrate on the other sentences, because in vocabulary you can't just sit and try to by heart all the synonyms and antonyms. So in the examination, it's going to be either you know either you know the synonym or the meaning of the word, or you don't. So let's not waste much time in the vocabulary. And we have phrasal verbs and idioms, for which you'll have to just go through the last year question papers of all the companies. So that might give you an idea about how to attend phrasal verbs and idioms. And finally comes the voices and forms of speech, which includes the direct and indirect speeches and active passive voices. So that's quite an interesting topic. So you might spend some time for preparing on active voices and active voice, passive voice, and the forms of speeches, because you'll not feel boring. It's very interesting topic. So this is all about the verbal aptitude. And in verbal aptitude, as I told you, you can expect 24 questions and the duration would be 30 minutes. So yes, now coming to the reasoning ability, we have data arrangements, like there will be some people who are arranged for a photograph, or they might be arranged for in a dinner table. All these will come under data arrangements. And you have blood relations questions which can be expected in reasoning ability. And as you can see, coding, decoding, visual reasoning, number series, alphabet series, data interpretation, like you will be given a graph, and followed by that you might be asked questions. And you have data sufficiency, clocks and calendars, cubes, direction sense, logical connectives, syllogisms, Venn diagrams, inequalities. Oh my god. So it includes almost all the reasoning topics. That's a speciality of TCS, that TCS does not leave any table unturned. So it is going to include almost all the reasoning topics. So you can expect questions from all the reasoning topics. Now, coming to the important part, quantitative aptitude. Now, in quantitative aptitude, these are the only quantitative aptitude topics that you can expect. I mean, like, you almost have the very important topics covered over here: permutation, combination, numbers, probability, time, speed, distance, geometry, mensuration and progressions, ratios and proportions, profit and loss, averages, mixtures and allegations. So as I told you, almost all the topics are covered, but important topic time and work is not included here. Okay, so we have equations, logarithms, graphs, puzzles, base conversion. All these are extra topics that you can expect in TCS, because no other company would go for functions, logarithms, graphs, base conversion and all. So TCS is one company which is more special for getting these kind of questions inside the test pattern. So quantitative aptitude is all about these topics. And finally, we have the most important section, the programming logic and the coding section. So in programming logic, usually you can expect questions from like operators, looping statements, control statements like if statement, the loops like for loops, all these things, and arrays, strings, functions. So they might give you some questions and they might ask you the output, or they might give you a program and they might ask you what is the error, and will you be getting a runtime error, or compiler error, what kind of error that you will get when you run this program. These might be the questions in programming logic. Also, like you might expect questions from object oriented programming, and you can expect it from standard template libraries. I mean, based on the libraries, you may get some questions. Object modeling, compiler design, threading, data structures, recursion. These are the expected topics from which questions can be asked. And this year, it is very much necessary for you to prepare on pseudocoding, algorithms, and basic software development cycle. So within these 10 days interval, we will definitely arrange for a class in which all these will be discussed. I mean, like if it's not at least discussed in detail, we will have at least the outline of whatever questions that might be asked and what you can expect in programming logic. So we'll definitely arrange for a class. And when it comes to coding, like they will be giving you a scenario. I mean, like you'll have to write a program for that particular given scenario, and that program can be in any language. You can use C++, Java, Python. It's up to you. But you're expected to master in any one of these languages, and you should be very strong in the fundamentals of any one language, and it can be of your choice. Okay, so that one reason you can just answer in this coding section, because coding section is very important because you are all applied for a IT company, right? And this coding also they have split it as two questions. The question one, which is going to be of 15 minutes. I mean, the time given for the first question would be 15 minutes, and the second question would be 30 minutes. So this is all about the coding part. So I think the different topics that can be expected in all these sections, you might be very clear about it now. And we always have a lot of questions when it comes to a national qualifier test. So the first question would be, is there any negative marking here? So for the last year, actually, there was negative marking. But then like the questions based on fill in the blanks, all these things will not have the negative marking. But I think for this year, the negative marking is not there. So that's the good news. And the total duration is like 1.5 hours. The number of 5 sections, it will be like 180 minutes. So it's like 3 hours of total test. It's not 1.5 hours, it's going to be 3 hours. So this is all about the TCS NQT. And in today's class, as I told you, we'll be discussing some of the questions which we can expect in TCS. So let's start with a quantitative aptitude. So here we will be discussing some of the questions in quantitative aptitude. Okay, let's get started. Here we have a first question. So whenever you start doing an aptitude test, I mean, whenever you perform in an aptitude test, the timing is very, very important, right? So like whenever you see a question, you'll have to just look for two things: what is given in the question and what is asked in the question. Okay, now in quantitative aptitude we have 26 questions to be solved in 40 minutes, which means like you have only 1.5 minutes for each question. So if they are giving you more than a minute, then of course the level of the question will not be easy. It will definitely be between intermediate and difficult. So that 1.5 minutes itself will not be enough for us. So always go for the answers. Like you cannot directly find the answers. So always try to shorten the time for reading the question. So now in the question, you'll have to just skim through and find what is given in the question and what is asked in the question. So here on a 26 question test, 5 points were detected for each wrong answer and 8 points were added for each correct answer. So it's clearly given that the test has 26 questions altogether. The 26 questions, all of them are answered. Yes, it is answered. If all of them were answered, then I can definitely say my correct questions and incorrect questions together gives me 26 questions together altogether. Now what happens, for each correct question I'm getting 8 marks. Okay, so 8 marks into the number of correct questions will give one particular mark. But from this mark, what happens? 5 points will be detected for every wrong answer. So, how many, if one incorrect answer is there, then I will be getting a detection of 5 marks. If the incorrect questions are unknown, then we'll take the incorrect questions as incorrect itself. Okay. So, how many incorrect questions are there? That many fives will be detected from my total marks. Okay, total marks is like the number of correct questions into 8. So this will totally give my score, which is given as 0 in the question. Okay, I'll repeat it again. On a 26 question test, 5 points were detected for each wrong answer and 8 points were added for each correct answer. If all the questions were answered, how many were correct if the score was 0? Now, it is clear that the total number of questions, the correct questions, incorrect questions is going to be 26. And for each correct question, I'm getting 8 marks. And for each incorrect question, my minus 5. It's because 5 marks is detected. Okay. On doing this, the final score of the student is 0. So this is what is given in the question. Okay. Now, what are they asking in the question? How many correct questions? How many questions you were answering it correct? So I'll have to find this variable. So I don't need this variable, correct? So we have two different equations now and two different variables now. If you have two equations and two different variables, then you can definitely find their answer very quickly. So I'll take the number of correct question as A and number of incorrect question as B. It's just for a reference purpose so that you understand. So A plus B is equal to 26 and 8A minus 5B is equal to 0. So these are the two equations that I have got. Now that we need to find the variable A or B. Of course it is A because they are asking us to find how many were correct. So we'll have to find the variable A. So let's eliminate the variable B. So how do I eliminate? I will have to multiply the first equation entirely with 5. Then I will get 5A plus 5B is equal to 26 into 5. You don't even need to multiply it. Let's not waste time in multiplication or not. And second equation, I'm just getting it as it is. So 8A minus 5B is equal to 0. Now, if you simplify these two equations, 5B and plus 5B and minus 5B will get cancelled. And you will be getting 8A plus 5A, 13A is equal to 26 into 5. And now the 13 and 26 can be cancelled and you will get the A value as 10, which means the number of correct questions here is 10. So if in 26 questions the number of correct questions is 10, then you can also find the incorrect number of questions, which is 16. But as our question is all about how many were correct, then we'll go with the question A. Sorry, the option A, 10 questions, so 10 answers were correct. Okay. So this is how we will have to do the questions in quantitative aptitude. So always look for two things: what's given in the question and what's asked in the question. So that always will give you which topic this question belongs to, so that you can apply the formula very easily and get an answer. Is it clear? Yes. Now let's go for the second question. So here we have The second question, apple costs L rupees per kilogram for first 30 kgs and Q rupees per kilogram for each additional kilogram. If the price of 33 kilograms is 1167 and for 36 kgs of apple is 1284, then what is the cost of first 10 kg of apples? So here it is given as first 30 kgs, the price I'm giving is L rupees, and for every additional kg I'm giving it at Q rupees. Okay, so if it is like 33 kgs, then first 30 kgs I'll be selling it at L rupees, and extra 3 kgs I'll be selling it at Q rupees, for which I'm spending 1167 rupees. Okay, now for 36 kgs, how do I split the amount? For first 30 kgs, it will be L rupees, and for the extra 6 kgs, it would be Q rupees. So I'd be spending a total amount of 1284 rupees. Okay, so this is how this is what is given in the question. And what are they asking for? What is the cost of the first 10 kg of apples? Which means I would require the value of L, only then I can multiply it with 10, then I can say what is the cost of the first 10 kg of apples, right? So here also we have two different equations, and if you solve the two different equations, you can definitely get the value of L. Now from this, as we need L, if you multiply L, it will be like a very long story. So what we are going to do, we are going to just subtract one equation from the other. So if you subtract it like that, I'm just exchanging the signs so that you will get it as 30L and 30L gets cancelled. You will get it as minus 3Q is equal to minus 170. So that the minus signs will get cancelled and the Q value will be 39. Okay, either you can find the Q value or you don't even need to find the Q value. Now we know that 3Q value is 117. So 30L plus 117 is equal to 1160. So 30L value will be 1167 minus 117, which will give the value of 30L to be 1050. As we want the value of 10L, we can just divide the 1050 by 3, which will give us the value 350. So the first 10 kg of apples value is 350. Yes, Shivakumar has got it right. Both the questions, your answer is right, Shivakumar. So they're asking for the first 10 kg. So instead of just dividing it by 30 and then multiplying it by 10, you can just divide this value by 3 so that you get the answer as 350. So the answer for this question is 350. Let's quickly move for the next question. Yes, this is quite an interesting question. It's not, I wouldn't say that it's a difficult question, but it's an interesting question to ask in an aptitude examination. So here it says a cyclist is buying a cycle for 30 pounds. Okay. So there is a seller and there is a buyer. The buyer is a cyclist. Okay. Now he is buying it for 30 rupees and is paying a check of 60 rupees, which means the seller has to give a balance of 30 rupees. Correct. So the seller does not have the 30 rupees change. So what he is doing, the seller changes the check next door and gives the cyclist a change of 30 rupees. So now the seller is giving 30 rupees to the buyer. Okay. Now the check bounces, so the seller paid his neighbor back. So the $60 or the 60-pound check is bouncing. So what he is doing, he is taking his 30 rupees money and he is giving it to the neighbor. Okay, done. So he has lost 30 rupees now. And extra 30 rupees where he is just giving it to the cyclist or the buyer, because the cycle cost is 30 rupees, right? So actually he has lost 30 rupees here and 30 rupees here in the form of a product, correct? But the cycle's actual cost is 23 rupees, but he has sold it for 30 rupees. So the actual loss for him in this transaction while he is selling the cycle is only 23 rupees, correct? So the 7 rupees is like extra amount. So that cannot be counted in his loss. Okay. As the cycle is costing 23 rupees, actual cost of the cycle is 23 rupees. He has lost that 23 rupees also. And he has lost the 30 rupees which he borrowed from the neighbor and gave it to the buyer. So he had a total loss of 53 rupees. So it's like a loss of 53 rupees. Oh, sorry, it is pounds. So the answer for this question will be option C, 53 pounds. I hope you understood. Shivkumar, I'm expecting an answer from you because if you say so, then we can just go for the next question. So I would like to repeat this question again. There is a seller who is selling cycles. Okay. Firstly, he is selling a cycle for 30 pounds. Now the buyer, the cyclist, is giving a check of 60 pounds. Now the seller, when he gets the 60-pound check, he has to give a balance, right? And he does not have the balance, so he's borrowing 30 rupees from the neighbor and he's giving to the cyclist. Okay, so now the bounce is checking. So anyways, the seller is paying the neighbor the 30 rupees. So totally, the seller is losing the cost of the cycle also, and the extra cost that he has spent, he has just gave it as a balance. So the total loss for the seller is 53 rupees. Done. So next question. Yes. Again, this is more of a logical question with the inclusion of numbers. So here the question says, a certain street contains 100 buildings. They are numbered from 1 to 100. How many nines were used in numbering these buildings? It basically asks how many nines are there from 1 to 100. So this is the direct question and it is asked indirectly in this form. A certain street has 100 buildings and they are numbered from 1 to 100. So how many nines are used in numbering these buildings? So it's nothing but we'll have to just list down all the nines right from, all the numbers it has nines right from 1 to 100. So it will be 9, 19, 29, 39, 49, 59, 69, 79, 89 and 99. Okay, here we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 all together. And here we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Again, 91, 92, 93, 94, 95, 96, 97, 98 and 90. So if you add all these numbers, then you will get, of course, 9 numbers. So we have a total of 6 plus 5 plus 9, 20 numbers between 1 to 100, which has 9 in it. So the answer for this question is 2020, option B. So these were all easy and interesting questions. So we have done it very quickly. So let's go to the next question. How many positive integers less than 600 can be formed using the numbers 2, 4, 5 and 6 as digits, each digit being used only once, which means clearly it says no repetition is allowed. So this belongs to permutation and combination, right? So when reading at the question itself, you must be able to find it belongs to which topic. Okay, so yes. Now this is all about the different combination of numbers and the arrangement of numbers. So definitely this question belongs to the commutation and combination. So here the given digits or the available digits are 2, 4, 5 and 6. And we are going to find how many positive integers are there. They have given this statement because we'll have to just consider into account only the numbers more than 0 and they should be integers. Okay. So yes, now integers are nothing but all the complete numbers. Integers basically are all the complete numbers right from minus infinity to plus infinity. So I'll just put it like this. You have the 0 here. Then all the complete numbers like minus 44, plus 36, minus 183, plus 243. All these complete numbers are called integers. And as they are asking us only the positive integers, we will have to consider only the numbers greater than 0. Okay, so they are asking us to find how many positive integers can be found less than 100 using the digits 2, 4, 5 and 6. Okay, done. Now that we know that less than 600, we have three different set of numbers. The three different set of numbers are nothing but single digit numbers, two digit numbers and three digit numbers. These are the different numbers that can be formed less than 600. Correct? Now, coming to the single digit numbers, I can put either 2 or 4 or 5 or 6. So, the number of single digit numbers that can be formed using 2, 4, 5 and 6 will be how much? 4. Okay, so this gives the total amount of 4 numbers. Now, two digit numbers have to be formed. And you'll have to take into consideration that no repetition is allowed. Okay, so now using 2, 4, 5 and 6, how many two digit numbers can be formed? In the first blank, I can fill either 2 or 4 or 5 or 6. So there are 4 ways of filling the first blank. Now, if you're using one of these numbers, then the second blank can be filled with the remaining 3 numbers. So there are 3 ways of filling the second number. So number of two-digit numbers that can be formed using 2, 4, 5 and 6 will be 12. The reason why I'm using a multiplication symbol here is because the first digit is filled in 4 ways and the second digit is filled in the 3 ways. As I'm having and here, I'm using multiplication. If I have or in my statement, then I would use plus. Okay. In a similar way, let's go to the 3-digit numbers. 3-digit numbers actually starts from 100 and it ends in 999. Okay, but we don't need all these numbers. We need just the numbers less than 600. Okay. So in that case, the first number can be 2, can be 4, can be 5, but it cannot be 6. So here we can put only 3 different numbers. The first number can be filled only in 3 ways. And let's assume 6 is not used here. Now coming to the second part, I'll assume that 2 is already used. Now we have only 3 numbers left out for us. So we can use only one number among these 3 in the second blank. So 3 ways of filling the second blank. Now assume that 6 is used. Now we have only 2 numbers left out. So the third blank can be filled in 2 ways. So the first blank is filled in 3 ways and second blank in 3 ways and third blank in 2 ways, which makes it as 18 ways. So the total number of numbers that can be formed using 2, 4, 5 and 6 less than 600 will be 34 numbers, which makes the answer as option B, 34. Yes. Shivkumar, that was quite quick. Yes, let's go for the next question. Yes. here comes a question which is all about basic numbers. So here they say that the value of a car depreciates in such a way that its value of the end of each year is 4 by 5th of its value in the beginning of the same year. So if it's like 5,000 in the starting of the year, then it's becoming 4,000 at the end of the year. Then the 4,000 then again becomes 4 by 5th of 4,000. So this is happening continuously for 3 years. Okay. And these were the questions I was talking about. If you have a fill in the blanks, then last year there was no negative marking. I think for all the questions in this year there will not be any negative marking. So here it is given as if the value at the end of 3 years is 6,40,000, then what's the initial value of the car? Okay, initially the value of the car is not known. That's why it's asked in the question, right? So as the value is unknown, then we can take it as x. Okay, this initial value at the end of first year is becoming 4 by 5th of its initial value, and after one more year it's becoming 4 by 5th of this value. So I should write it as 4 by 5th of 4 by 5th of x. Then after one more year, after the third year, what's happening? It's becoming further 4 by 5th of this value. So it should be 4 by 5 or 4 by 5 or 4 by 5 of x. Okay, this is what is given. Now, the given data in the question is if the value at the end of 3 years, this value, if it is 6,40,000, then what is the x value? This is what is asked in the question. So now let's try to equate whatever values that we know. 4 by 5th of 4 by 5th of 4 by 5th of x is equal to 6,40,000. Okay, then what is the value of x? Because x is the initial value, right? So 4 into 4 into 4 is 64. So let's cancel all the 4s and write it as 10,000. And we know that 5 into 5 into 5 is 125. So x will be 10,000 into 125 or 125 zeros, which is nothing but 12,50,000. So the initial value of the car is 12,50,000. So let me put the answer here. Initially it was 12,50,000. Every year it is depreciating 4 by 5th of its own value, because of which it is becoming 6,40,000 at the end of 3 years. Okay. So yes, that makes the answer as 12,50,000. Okay, let's move to the next question. Here, this is a quite interesting question. These kind of questions you can expect most of the candidates to make a mistake. Okay, so this is kind of a scoring question for you. So the 260th term of a series can be how much? I mean, is what? So that's basically the question. So here they are writing the first alphabet of the alphabetical series one time, second alphabet two times, third alphabet three times, fourth alphabet four times, and it goes on. Okay. Now in this question itself, you can expect a lot of different. I mean, in this pattern, you can expect a lot of different questions. Okay, they might ask you what is the total number of, what is the last term, what should be the last term number, all these questions. You can expect a range of questions from this pattern. So let's come to this one. The 260th term of the series A, comma, B, comma, B, comma, C, C, C will be what? Okay. Now let's consider right from A to D. Okay. I'm just taking A to D. D is ending where in the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 10th term. And where is E ending? On the 15th term. And F is ending on 21st term. Okay. So this is like 6. This is like 3 and 1. So all these numbers are nothing but the sum of the natural numbers of that particular position of the alphabet. As in, Let's take the D. D is the fourth alphabet, correct? So D will be ending at n into n plus 1 by 2. This is nothing but the sum of the natural numbers formula. So if you use this formula and substitute n is equal to 4, then it would be 4 into 5 by 2 or 10. Assume that we are taking we are taking the sixth alphabet here. Then where is f ending? N plus n, n into n plus 1 by 2, which is 6 into 7 by 2 or 21. So likewise, G will be ending at 7 into 8 by 2 and H will be ending at 8 into 9 by 2 and it goes on, correct? So now the question is, I want this n into n plus 1 by 2 to be 260, right? Because I want to find what is the 260th term. So in that case, what do? I will take n into n plus 1 as 260 into 2, which makes it as 520. Okay. So because I want to do a simplification and I want to get a number, right? That's why. Because in these cases, they have given the n value and we are finding where they are ending. But here they are telling us the number of the particular term and we'll have to find which alphabet it is. For that, I need to find the n value. Okay. Now here it is given as n into n plus 1, which is equal to 520. Now, either you can go for the factorization or there's another method to find the n value. N and n plus 1 are nothing but consecutive numbers, right? So it can be 15 into 16 or it can be 24 into 23 or it can be 25 into 26. It can be anything. So n and n plus 1 both are consecutive numbers. But instead of taking it as n and n plus 1, just try to take it as n and n, which is like n square. Okay. In this case, n square is a number which is close to 520. Because we all know that 520 is not a square number. But there should be a square number which is close to 529, correct? So now let's try to find the square number that's close to 520. Let's go for 10 square. Oh, that's 100. Very less. Let's go for 20 square. This is 400. Okay, pretty close. Now I'm adding just 5 5. So 25 square, which is 625. So this 529 should be a number which is between 20 square to 25 square, right? So now let's try to find 529 comes where. So we know that 20 square is 400. So 21 square, how much it is? 441. 22 square is 484. And 23 square is 529. Okay, so we can take it as a possible event, like n value here 3 square is 529. So possibly it can be a number which is close to 23. So it can be 22 or 23 or 24. These are the possible answers. So let's take the value n is equal to 22. Then in that case it would be 22 into 23 by 2. And if it is 23, then it would be 23 into 24 by 2. And if it is 24, then it will be 24 into 25 by 2. Okay. So let's try to cancel all of these things and get the answer. So even if it is 276, then the 260th term will be W. Okay. So yes. The answer for this question will be option D. Yes, V ends in 253 and W ends in 276 and X ends in 300. So the answer for this question would be B, W. Because they have asked some number which is in this interval. Correct? So this in this interval it will be like W. So right from 254 to 276 it will be W. So 260th term will be the W. Right. So the answer is W. Yes, let's move for the next question. Yes, this might look like a very, very big question, but the thing is that it's very, very simple, and they have complicated the question by including a lot of terms in it, and they have included a lot of lines to make it really difficult for you to read it and waste your time. Yes, now here they have given it like the people of the land of unsymmetrics ensure that there is very, very little symmetry in their life. Even their unit of length is called unsim. It's their pride that the front wheel and rear wheels of the, it's actually rear wheels of their bikes are of different sizes but are made so that they will not slip on the road. Okay. Until this, it's like extra content. Nobody needs that information, useless information. In a certain model of bike, the radius of the front wheel is 28 unsims. Unsims is nothing but like centimeter, inches. They have given the units as unsims. And that of the back wheel is 14 unsims. After driving a certain distance, if front wheel had revolution 54 times, then how many revolutions would have the back wheel have undergone? Okay, so actually there is a front wheel and there is a rear wheel. Okay, both are attached to the same bike. Okay, yes. Now, in the front wheel, the radius is given as 28 unsims, and in the rear wheel, it is given as 14 unsims. Okay, now it is running in the road, and they are asking us to find the revolution. Firstly, we'll have to connect these three terms: revolution, radius, and distance. Only if we connect these three, then we can find the answer to this question very clearly. Now that my question is that if the front wheel is traveling 50 kilometer, then the back wheel will be covering how much distance? If you give the answer to this question, then the remaining is very, very easy. So if the front wheel is traveling 50 kilometers and the back wheel will also travel 50 kilometers, which means the distance traveled by both of them are same. And how is the distance calculated? The distance is calculated like the number of revolutions done by the wheel into the number of radius. Correct? So the number of revolution into radius is equal to the distance. This looks similar to speed into time is equal to distance. More or less, the proportionalities existing is like same. Okay, now that we know both the distances are same, distance covered by front wheel and distance covered by back wheel both are same, we can equate its formula. Revolution done by front wheel into radius of front wheel is equal to revolution done by back wheel is into radius of back wheel. Now the radius is given as 28 and the revolution is given as 28 and the radius okay, the radius is 28 and the revolution of the front wheel is given as 54. Now again the revolution of back wheel is not known and the radius is given as 14. So on simplifying this, you will get the value as 108. Okay, this is how we'll have to find it. This is one way of finding it, or there is another way which is very, very simple to find it using proportionality concept. We know that B is equal to revolution into radius, which means distance and revolution are directly proportional. Distance and radius are directly proportional and revolution and radius are indirectly proportional. So, if the radius of front wheel and radius of back wheel are in the ratio 28 is to 14, then the revolution of front wheel and revolution of back wheel will be in the ratio 14 is to 28. Just the reciprocal, right? Which is like 1 is to 2. If the front wheel revolution is 54, then the back wheel revolution will be 54 into 2, 108. That's it. So this is another way to find the answer. So these are the two different methods. So every aptitude question will have two different methods to find the answer. But please be very careful because we have the second question, right? In the second question, they might ask you any of these, I mean, they might change any of these values and they can ask you a question because uh, TCS has a lot of previous year question papers, right? So most of the students will just by heart all these questions and their answers. So what they might do is that instead of 1284, they might give it as 1248. You might have practiced this question and you very well know that the answer is 350. So when you look at this question, when you don't read it carefully, you will go with the answer 350. So that when you complete the question, when you complete the examination and come, you might have a thought like you've done it well. But when the result is announced, you might find it difficult to accept that. Okay, it's because of the carelessness most of the questions lose their marks in aptitude examinations. And I am also one of the person who has lost a lot of marks in my competitive examinations because of this. So be very careful while you are reading the question. Now in this question, if it's going to be 1248, then what is the answer? An apple costs L rupees per kilogram for 30 kgs and Q rupees per kilogram for additional kilograms. If price of 33 is 1167 and price of 36 kg is 1248, then the cost of first 10 kg of apples will be what? We will just do it quickly. 30L plus 3Q is 1167. 30L plus 6Q is 1248. So in this case, we will get the 3Q value to be how much? 8 minus 7, 1. And again, it would be 13 minus 6, sorry, 14 minus 6 would be 8. And again, it would be 1 minus 1, 0. So it's 81 basically. So we got the 3Q value to be 81. Now substituting the same over here, 30L plus 81 is equal to 1167. So 30L will be equal to 1167 minus 81, which is 6, and 116 minus 8, it will be 108. So in this case, if you want to find the first 10 kg apples price, then it would be 10L is equal to 1086 by 3, or the first 10 kgs of apple will be 300 and how much? 3 3s are 9, 3 6 are 18, 362 rupees. Okay. So in this case, the answer is 362 just by changing only one digit. Just by exchanging the 4 and 8, we are getting it as 362. So kindly make a note of it and please be very, very careful while you're reading the question. So that's most important than any other thing. Okay. So in today's class, we have seen quite a few questions in TCS NQT that you can ask, that can be expected in TCS NQT. So kindly stay tuned for the upcoming classes. As it was the first day, we have planned only for very few questions. So in the upcoming days, you can expect a number of questions from different sections like verbal ability, from reasoning and quantitative aptitude, and hopefully we'll also arrange a session for programming logic and coding. So yes, thank you so much guys, and please support us by subscribing to the channel. And if you have any queries or suggestions or comments, please leave it in the comment section. Thank you.